Jonathan Karl reveals how the president meticulously planned for this moment and every moment of the past year. Karl's new book is out. It's called Retribution, Donald Trump and the Campaign That Changed America. Jonathan is with us. Congratulations on the New York Times best-selling author list now for the 4th time in 5 years. Great book. Help us understand, Jonathan, as you were reporting through the campaign, what was the differences of how Trump was getting ready now for Trump 2.0?
Well, it was really summed up for me in a conversation I had with Trump during the fall campaign in October. So about a month or so, 3 or 4 weeks before the election, I had started calling him pretty regularly, every few days, and to my surprise, but eventually it wasn't surprising, he would almost always pick up the phone. And I wanted to start talking to him about his transition, because as you know, Leland, transitions start before the election. You have a team in place. The head of the transition had been named already, and I was like, how are you preparing for the possibility that you'll win? And Trump is funny about this stuff. He's a little superstitious. He's kind of like, a baseball fan watching their favorite pitcher pitch a no-hitter. You don't mention it. You don't mention it until the game is over. So he didn't want to talk much about the specifics, but he told me last time I didn't know anybody. I had not been in Washington. I had no experience in Washington. This time I know people. This time is going to be different. And I think that kind of sums it up. He had been through all that he had been through. He had relied on outside experts for advice. He's not doing that now. I mean, this is a cabinet that is in many ways built in Trump's image and an agenda that the people that are serving, not just in that cabinet, but in his White House, started working on, 4+ years ago.
I think the most stunning part of this answer so far has been, I was calling him every couple of days and he was answering, which is one thing for someone to say about the President of the United States. It's another thing for someone who the president publicly has such disdain for. This is just one of the president's musings about you. I watched ABC Fake News this morning. Both lightweight reporter Jonathan Karl, spelled with a C, K question mark, ridiculous and biased interview of Tom Cotton, who was fantastic, and their so-called panel of Trump haters. Why would I do the debate against Kamala Harris on that network? This is referring to the time when they were debating, figuring out when the presidential debates would be. I would just change that question. Why would Donald Trump continue to talk to ABC Fake News lightweight reporter Jonathan Karl?
First of all, you have to consider that when he wrote that, how unbelievably harsh it was. It wasn't just the insults. It wasn't the misspelling of my name. It was that he was threatening to back out of the ABC News debate. I mean, our whole network was preparing for the Kamala Harris, Donald Trump debate. And the idea that because of me, we could lose the debate was like, I mean, this was about as harsh a thing as he could say. And I texted him shortly after he said that, and I just I just said to him, I hope you saw my interview with Bernie Sanders, because he's talking about an interview I did with Tom Cotton, which he thinks was very tough or whatever. But I also had an interview with Bernie Sanders that was very much in the same tone as my interview with Tom Cotton. Anyway, he didn't respond to that text message, but he called me about, it was either 2 or 3 days, it might have been 3 days later, and acted like nothing had happened, almost like he was just like checking in. Hey, so how you doing? So what are you hearing? What role are you going to play in the debate? And he knew I wasn't going to be moderating. I was going to be anchoring the post-game show.
Have you ever asked him, like, hey, just, if you think I'm so terrible, why do you keep calling me? I mean, it's like a girl who will never go out with you, or tells everybody how ugly you are, and then ask you to buy her dinner or something.
Well, I did have just a few weeks ago. I was in the Oval Office as part of the White House pool. ABC was pool that day, the network pool, and I was asking him some questions that he didn't like. And
I think we have. I think
really
we have that
laid
clip,
into me.
or we have one. We have one of those
okay.
clips. So we'll play
All right,
it.
go ahead.
For you to stand there and act so innocent and ask me a question like that, but look,
Do you think you have a right to
You
stop?
paid a big price because you were dishonest, John. The reason I won that lawsuit was because you were dishonest. You were proven to be dishonest. And so you can't sit back and just say, oh, well, what do you think? You know, like you're some wonderful person. You're not a wonderful person. Frankly, you're a terrible reporter.
I mean, that is, you know, Leland, that's kind of harsh, don't you think?
Hey, you know, if they're not cheering or booing, you're not in the game. But I'm still trying to figure out what is it about Donald Trump who is so thoughtful, I would use that word judiciously, about news coverage of him, right? And gets so angry and so appalled and so aggrieved. And yet, you, Maggie Haberman, others that write these articles and do these TV pieces that he hates, Caitlin Collins, he cannot wait to talk to them.
You know, so let me finish what I was going to tell you, and then let me address that. But first, just after that, when the cameras are sent out because the event is over, he motioned to me to come over. So I walked over to the Resolute desk, and he basically said, you know, no problem. We're fine. We're fine. And then I said to him, I said that was harsh. And then he just laughed and he said, no, you were harsh. You were harsh. And as I'm walking out, he yells out to everybody there, thank you, John. Thank you, Jonathan. So I think part of it is it's performance.
It's like The Apprentice, right?
It's a bit like that. I mean, it's for sure. He does I'm not saying he doesn't get angry sometimes at the coverage. I've certainly seen that. I've also seen it when he's liked the coverage and he's complimented me in front of people as well. It's a strange dynamic. But you know, I think that. But you were getting at another question, and remind me what it was. But
no, it's just for a guy who gets so angry and so aggrieved.
About the press,
right? But those are the reporters that he's so upset with. Oftentimes, are the ones that he talks to the most. And you've known him since the New York Post days, right? What is that? I don't want to say pathology, but what is that dynamic?
Well, here's what I'll say. So I've been covering. I've had a chance to cover the White House under several different presidents. I have never seen a president who consumed so much news. I mean, Obama was more likely to be watching ESPN than ABC News or CNN or whatever, or NewsNation wasn't there yet. He didn't watch news. He didn't care what the coverage was. You know, he got his briefing in the morning, but he wasn't sitting there like, what? I mean, and same with George W. Bush. You know, this is a new phenomenon to have. It's a singular phenomenon to have a president of the United States that watches all this stuff. I mean, I called him during the campaign, the Sunday before the election, and just to, you know, the final stretch, I wanted to see, you know, where his head was at on a couple of things. And he started laying into me about what I had just said on Good Morning America Weekend. That's a great show. This is not, you know, I'm not meaning, but the fact that the guy that's running for president of the United States in the last few days is sitting up on a Sunday watching Weekend Good Morning America, and I'm sure watching the other
everything. Yeah.
Everything. Just astounding. So I think, look, he knows. Let me take Maggie Haberman and Caitlin. He knows the three of us. He knows that we're all serious reporters, and he also knows that we treat him with respect. No matter, even when he does something like he did in the Oval Office, I'm not going to stand up and say, "Oh my God, how could you do that to me? We're the free press." And I mean,
there's a game respects game. That he understands his role, you understand your role, and he respects the game and then plays it hard, which he does, and which you, Caitlin, and Maggie certainly do as well. Congratulations on the book, Jonathan.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for having me on, Leland, and congrats on your book as well.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Not up to 4 in 5 years, but happy that people are finding a little bit of hope in one in Born Lucky. So thank you.
Yes. Congrats.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.